Yo, 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 what is up, everybody? Chris here from Big Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys a super quick preview, I hope, of what to expect going into the Stage 2 major, that, of course, being the Minnesota Rokkr major in Minnesota. I mean, obviously, right? So, without further ado, let's get right into the bracket. Like I said, I'm working on a new intro, but I've just been really busy with life stuff, so that's why I haven't been uploading consistently. But enough of that, right into the bracket. I wanted to start off with kind of the series that are a little bit more obvious to predict. And I was a little bit more decisive this time. I just feel like with my calls this season, I've been on the ball. So, I'm really ego challenging a lot of these, and I know my stuff this year. Vanguard has actually been pretty orderly, knock on wood, right? So without further ado, I know I've said that like twice now, but let's look at the winner's side of the bracket because that's going to be pretty quick. I feel like these are kind of cut and dry considering some of the things that have happened lately. So looking at our first matchup, I think we will have Optic Texas taking on the Seattle Surge. And I expect this to be a 3-0 for Texas. I mean, they haven't missed a beat since winning the Major 1 at home. They went 5-0 online, and they swept Faze, of course, with Persini as a sub. But Faze played really well, even with Persini literally having 0 reps apart from playing some ranked. When he came in, they played very tight, and Persini definitely impressed. So I don't know what that means for him for the rest of the season, but that's a discussion for another time. Looking at, of course, our next matchup on the schedule, I believe that will be the Ravens taking on the Mutineers. And I'm expecting the Ravens to walk away with this one pretty comfortably with a 3-0. I just don't think the Mutineers have it in the tank right now. I don't think that they are a good enough team to topple the Ravens. Of course, knock on wood again. Yeah, so I think it's 3-0 for the Ravens. I just don't see them being outclassed in any of the 3 game modes unless they make a major slip up. But the one game mode that I will say Florida will likely have somewhat of a chance of taking is the S&D. Their S&D has been looking pretty good. Dave Patty on the sniper and Wake just on the flank and Skies just roaming around, Vivid being Vivid. Like they have a very good fighting chance against a team like London or really any team in the game. Now, I think in our next matchup, we'll have the Boston Breach taking on the Guerillas. I'm pretty sure that's what it said on the schedule. So looking at this one, I think it's a 3-1 for the Boston Breach. Of course, the LA Guerillas, normally I would have them in a 3-2 loss position, just considering the form that the Breach has been in all season. Well, not all season long, all stage long, excuse me. But with Spark filling in for Gunless, I hope he gets well soon. I think this is going to be a pretty clear 3-0. But I said a 3-1 just to be kind and just to give myself a little bit of breathing room in the bracket. Now, looking at, I believe, our last matchup of the day for the winners bracket side, we have Faze taking on the New York Subliners, and I expect this to be a pretty comfortable 3-0 for Faze. They really need to get some momentum going after having such a disappointing performance at Major 1, losing, of course, to Optic Texas both. Additionally, Faze need to rebound from their loss against the Surge earlier in the stage. They won out after that, but, it is really like a hit at their confidence, if you will. And BZ hasn't really been playing like a BZ. So I'm not sure what to expect, but Faze definitely needs this to boost their confidence because I really do expect it to be an Optic Faze final again. And I think London will finish top 3 again. Now, looking at losers bracket on Friday, I'm not sure how the schedule works out because it looks like on the Pick'em website, it's kind of chalked. So I think that our first matchup, we'll see the Seattle Surge taking on our hosts, the Minnesota Rokkr, but that kind of wouldn't make sense because I would expect Rokkr to play last match of the day since they're the hosts and they're playing through the losers bracket. So realistically, this could be the only match of the weekend for them. So I think this is probably the last match of the day. So I will actually start out with the Mutineers versus Legion series. I'm expecting this to be our first upset of the weekend, and I have a few points on why. So I'm thinking the Paris take the series with 3-2 victories you guys can see on screen. They've been playing amazing hardpoint this stage, and their S&Ds looked really solid. Florida's also been really solid in hardpoint, which is why I expect them to trade hardpoints and S&Ds with the Paris Legion, but I think Legion take the game 5. I also think that Legion will likely take the control, as they've only seemed to get better with more time in the stage. And against a team like Florida, who's really struggled, and I believe is 5-7 in control last I checked, I really favor Paris Legion with the way that they've been making improvements and challenging the best teams. Even though their control hasn't really been complete, their hardpoint and their search has been very, very good. They're on the verge of really putting it together, in my opinion, the Legion, while Florida seems to be on the verge of really imploding. So I think Florida is a safe pick here, but this has an upset written all over it in my mind. So that means our next matchup would be the Los Angeles Guerillas taking on the Ultra. I think it's a 3-1 for the Ultra. They'll likely 3-0 here, but I want some cushion in case they have a shambolic map 1 performance. Their hard point has been really, really inconsistent, and they've been losing to teams they realistically should never lose to. I mean, the game has also been getting to a more equal state. I mean, these teams are kind of reaching an equilibrium point where anybody can beat anybody on any given day in any given mode. So that's why I think the Ultra will likely win 3-1 here. Now, our next matchup should see the LA Thieves taking on the New York Subliners. And personally, I expect NYSL to take the S&D or the Control, depending on how the Thieves come out. The Thieves have not really been looking too good in Control, and Control's never really been their game mode this season. So I'm really expecting them to lean on their hard point. And the New York Subliners looked a lot better in hard point and S&D. But I do think the Thieves, with their personnel, I think they take this one in the hard points. But I do recognize that with NYSL winning out after replacing Clay with, of course, Paul X, they have a lot of upset potential, and they've only improved. On the other hand, for LAT, I think they're poised to make another really deep losers bracket run. So that's why I have them taking it 3-2 here. I think this is the beginning of a very, very interesting losers bracket run for the Thieves. And what should be our last matchup of the day on Friday is going to be the Minnesota Rokkr taking on the Seattle Surge, if my scheduling is correct. And I think that honestly, the Surge walk away with a 3-1 here, even though the Minnesota Rokkr are defending home turf. It's just hard to put a lot of confidence in their ability to perform here because after moving Priesthood to a sub attached to a flex, it just feels like they haven't really moved further, right? They haven't progressed forward. Sandy's been playing well, Major's been playing well, and Attach has been absolutely frying. But the problem is they can't get on the same page at the same time. Priest has been playing well here and there, but he's just been, I'll say, bringing them down to a large degree. So I think if the Rokkr can really pull it together here, I do like their chances to take the series because Seattle has been the epitome of a streaky team. But with all things being considered, I expect the Surge to just outclass them in each and every game mode. But the S&D, the Rokkr have been clear-cut top 3 S&D team really since the beginning of the year. But the Surge have been an okay control team and a really good hardpoint team from the jump. Definitely better than Rokkr, in my opinion. So that's why I have it as a 3-1 for the Surge. There's going to be 2 hard points that they can't get past, right? So even if they split, I do think that Surge have enough looks in S&D where they could rebound. And I do think that they are just a better control team overall. So that's why I have Seattle 3-1. Looking at our matches on Saturday, we kick things off with the Seattle Surge taking on the LA Thieves. And personally, I think that the Thieves will build on the momentum that they have after beating the Subliners with another victory over the Surge. I think that they can build on the momentum of a Friday win by carrying it into Saturday and only steamrolling more teams in their quest to, I guess, make it out of the losers bracket, even though that's a very, very, very ambitious undertaking, right? So looking at that series, I do think that the Thieves are going to outclass the Surge in both hard points. I expect Seattle to take the S&D and Control to go up 2-1, but I expect the Thieves to get it back in map 4. And then I think that with that momentum, they will be able to topple the Surge in map 5. The Surge have just not had the composure that we really need them to have to be a top team in this game. And I don't think that that will really change much this weekend. Something really consequential needs to happen. And there has to be some sort of mechanism where we see like a clear change of fortunes for Seattle for me to put any sort of faith in them again. Now, looking at what I think is our next matchup on Saturday, we will have the Royal Ravens taking on the Boston Breach. And personally, I think this is a 3-1 for the Ravens. I think the Breach will likely take the S&D if it's not a 3-0 kind of map set for the Ravens. The Ravens have just been in a league of their own in comparison to teams like the Breach, who are really 4 through 12. In my mind, it's S tier, Optic, and Faze. And then on the fringe of S tier, or I really call them S tier, I have the Ravens. The Ravens could be Optic or Faze given the right map set and the right day. So for that reason, I have it as a 3-0 or a 3-1 in favor of the London Royal Ravens. They will also likely be looking to make a really, really strong statement to punch their ticket into the winners bracket finals. Now, up next, that would mean that we have the match we've all been waiting for, the rematch between Optic and Faze. I hope that they get to each other. I really want to see the rematch from the last major. Of course, we saw them in winners round 2. Faze went up 2-0 just to lose to Optic, right? I almost said Optic in 3-2 fashion, which is absolutely heartbreaking to me, right? And really no one else in the community because we're outnumbered by Optic fans. So I don't expect to see lightning strike twice in either direction in the series. I think that regardless, it will be really back and forth. I think that Optic will likely take the opening hard point, Faze will win the S&D, and then Optic will take the control. I expect Faze to win the second hard point and also to win the game 5 S&D. I think the momentum that they carry from a map 4 win would definitely carry them to a victory in the series. And I think that this is where the balance shifts back in FaZe's favor. I think that FaZe got too cocky the last time they played, and it really started a really odd domino effect that carried throughout the weekend. These weekends at the major are really reliant on momentum, and they weren't able to chain momentum from a win on Saturday into, of course, a strong performance on Sunday. So that would mean that on Saturday at around 8-ish p.m., we would be seeing the Boston Breach taking on the LA Thieves. And this is where I think the Thieves losers bracket runs if they make it this far. I think that honestly, the Cinderella story stops here. The Boston Breach have been a really good team in stage 2. They, of course, bumped themselves all the way up to 4th place in the standings overall. And, they've been rolling. Obviously, the London series was less than encouraging. The first time that they faced one of our top 3 teams, they did lose in really heartbreaking fashion. But I'm not sure if they lost because Nero was not feeling well or because London's just that much better. Personally, I think that London's just that much better. And I think that there is a skill gap between teams that are 4 through 12, like I said before, and the top 3. So for that reason, I do think that the Boston Breach will come out of the series with a 3-2, but I do recognize the fact that the LA Thieves, if they make it this far, then they definitely are in a good position to take the series as well. But as it stands, I just think that the Breach are in better form than the Thieves at the current moment. Boston winning 4 of their 5 matches in stage 2 bodes very well for them if they drop to the losers bracket in round 3 like I expect. I expect these teams to really trade hard points. I'm expecting Breach to drop to control since they're 5-10 in the mode overall. But I do expect them to win both S&Ds, which would give them a game 5 victory. So if things go out the way that I think they are, then that would mean that Optic drops to losers round 3, where they will likely face Toronto Ultra, or they could face Paris Legion or Florida Mutineers, depending on if one of these teams make a crazy run. But I don't expect Paris Legion or Florida Mutineers to make a crazy run. Knock on wood again. I mean, I've been wrong before. But all things considered, I think Ultra will make it through. But I do think the Optic walks away with a 3-0 here. Toronto just isn't the same team that they were last year. And for some reason, they just can't pull it together when it matters the most. So that leads me to the next round, which of course would be elimination round 4, where I have the Boston Breach taking on Optic Texas. I think that the Breach will likely get swept or they'll lose in 3-1 fashion. I just think the Optic outclasses them in every mode. And I think the Optic will walk away with it here pretty dominantly. So that means that on the winners bracket side of things, we would see FaZe taking on the London Royal Ravens. And I think this is a 3-1 for FaZe or a 3-0 depending on the map set. The Ravens are one of the top 3 teams, but I just don't see them breaking out and winning the winners finals. I love the London Royal Ravens, as you guys know, but FaZe is just in a league of their own along with Optic. And I think that London is very close, but it's going to take a lot of convincing on my part to see them really toppling FaZe or Optic. And of course, in the losers finals, because matchups have always mattered in Call of Duty more than any advanced stats or anything, I do see Optic Texas walking away with a 3-2 victory here. Realistically, I think that the Ravens and Optic will trade in the hard points. London has been one of our better hard point teams. Sorry, I had to get back in focus throughout this entire game. And I think Ravens likely take the first search, and then Optic, of course, since they are 10-1 in control, would likely take the control, which is the swing game in the series, to even it up. And then I think London probably takes the map 4 if they didn't win the first hard point. And then if they won the first hard point in the the first S&D, that would be a 3-1 victory, right? But I just don't see that happening against Optic Texas. I think Optic likely take the opening hard point. London rebound with the map 2 win, because usually if they lose map 1, they win map 2. And then Optic takes map 3, London takes map 4. We go to a game 5, of course, for all the marbles. Then Optic clutch up where they need to most. With Illy, Dashy, Scump, and Shotzi, I just don't see them really getting toppled in a game 5 since they're so in sync now and they're just really on top of the world. So realistically, I have London bowing out in 3rd place here. I think that's pretty respectful to them. They've been clear-cut best team in really the A tier, right, in the 3rd through 12th bracket. So I think that they will likely repeat and get 3rd place. They could, of course, play up this weekend, play out of their minds, smoke FaZe in the winners finals and get to the grand finals, but I don't see that happening. I think that these teams that are a little bit better coached will just win in the end. So that leads me to the grand finals where I see FaZe toppling Optic in a 5-3 fashion. I don't know, guys. I just think that this is going to be a back and forth battle. It's going to be a seesaw all season between FaZe and Optic. I really love that the rivalry, has been reignited. Makes me feel like I'm in high school again, seeing Optic and FaZe trading. But this time around, Optic is actually winning on land. So It's really interesting. It's going to be a great weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy this video. I hope you enjoy all the COD that we have coming tomorrow. I hope you have a great morning, noon, or night, wherever you may be on this beautiful planet. I will catch you guys on the next video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and be sure to go back and watch, of course, the report card video, the tier list video, and the upcoming video where I do a hybrid of report card and tier list, just kind of an update, because some things haven't changed and others have. So I'll catch you guys in the next video. Hope you have a great morning, noon, or night, like I said before. And yeah, that's it for me. Once again, this is Chris from Fake Sports News, and I'm signing off. Peace.